Alright, guys, and welcome to part 3 of this first episode of the RSBot Weekly. And today, now we're going to be analyzing the rest of the script. Well, there's still a bit left. We'll get as much as possible done. So we've got this large, big method which lasts for a long time. It's amazing. So big. Let's analyze it carefully. Well, not carefully, it's actually a pretty simple method. The first thing we do is get the selected index of each drop-down list box in our GUI. And we assigned each of those indices to an integer variable. So basically we have what index has been selected in the location list, what index has been selected in the rock list, the rock2 list, and the power9 list. And basically we switch between them, so depending on the location index that was chosen, so if we chose the first item in the drop-down list box, that's index 0, it means that we have decided to mine East Barrack. So we turn East Barrack to true. That was a variable at the top of the script, if you can't remember that. And the same thing goes on for all of the locations. So that's that, and the same thing happens with the rock index, and with the rock index 2, which is a secondary rock to mine, and with a drop index as well. So if this is the mine to drop 2 method, which basically you mine 2 ores, and whilst you're moving to mine the second or something like that, you drop the first or something similar, which is a pretty effective method to use. So basically, depending on what index of the drop list block was selected, we do one thing or another. So we drop all, or we mine to drop 2, or we do something hybrid, which I didn't know what that is. And finally, it goes on to the paint. If the basic paint was selected, then we turn on basic paint. Else, if the advanced paint was selected, we turn on the advanced paint. And now we turn on some checks here. If we're mining in East Barrack, this is something just pretty interesting to do. If we're mining in East Barrack and we choose to mine clay, it beeps. So the system actually would do meh and log that there are no clay rocks in Barrack East mine. And that goes on and on and on for a few and different locations. So, yeah. And then we assign to a variable the current mining level. And basically we perform a few checks. For example, if we chose to mine iron and our level is under 15, this logs that your mining level must be over 15. And that goes on for the rest of the rocks. And we finish that method. And that method was check settings. So interesting there. And we got onto the good old onStart method. And basically we check the version. So that was this first method here. We check the version of the script to see that we are up to date. And we make the new GUI. If you saw my GUI programming tutorials, you know what this is all about. And while start is not true and cancel is not true, we basically, so start turns to be true when we press the start button in the GUI. Cancel is true when we press the cancel button in the GUI. And if either of those is true, well, if the start is true, then we execute the script. If the cancel is true, then we stop the script. So we can see that if cancel is true, we stop the script. But if neither of both are true, then it means that the GUI has just now initialized, or when we create the GUI, since the onStart only runs once, as soon as we create the new GUI, we haven't pressed start or cancel, so we can initialize some settings in the GUI. So what this does is basically say that the default values for the power9 list is that and that stuff. So if the power RB checkbox, so that's power, I don't know, power something. So that's a checkbox. So the small cross, you can cross or uncheck, check and uncheck. If it's not selected, it's set to selected. So basically change. If it's not selected, it turns something to false, and if it is selected, it turns it to true. And here, if the location list selected index is 3, then it says that to true or false. So what I'm guessing this is, from the things I read in the thread, was that if the index is 3, which is Remington, then it says the bank list box to false because we cannot bank in Remington, at least it's not supported, and that sort of stuff. So this is basically things that only the owner of the script understands. It sets some things to enable or disable depending on where we are or what we've checked. If we press cancel, we stop the script, and if we chose Alcreed or Lumber Swamp or Mining Guild, and we log that the location is not yet supported, and we stop the script. So basically we're only working on Varrock, East, West, and Remington. So then we check the settings with the GUI, and we retrieve prices. This is a new class, and we'll analyze what that class is in the future. And then we create these two variables, which is the start time and the starting experience. And we make these after the GUI, so that the time we spend checking or unchecking things in the GUI does not count towards the script runtime. Okay, then we get to the onRepaint method, and this is quite a large method, as you can see. Basically, here what we do is just create standard paint. You can read this yourselves, just visit the website of the script. So basically what we do, if the basic paint is selected, we don't do anything, so the basic paint is obviously not working. And if the advanced paint is selected, which is the only paint working, then we paint everything on the screen. I'm not going to go through what all of this means. Just tell you that here we make some variables for the, for example, the levels gained. It's get real level, take away the get level at the starting experience. So that's a nice way to do it. In my tutorials, we got the starting level, and we subtracted the current level from the starting level every time. Here, this programmer gets the current level and subtracts from it the level at the starting experience. So that's a way to do it, I guess. And here we've got the current experience per hour, and the ores per hour, and the earned per hour. And we get into the paint. Basically, here we draw everything on the screen. The paint is quite nice, so you might want to see that. And if we're in a short break, so the script has included some break handler, and then we paint the stuff into screen. So I guess that it paints short break into the screen, and that tells the user that we're in a short break. And if we're looking away, then it paints looking away from the screen. And then we call the draw rock highlights method, draw progress bar, and draw mouse. So these are 3 methods that we're going to cover right now. And these highlighted rocks, they draw progress bar in the screen, and they draw your mouse, so you don't have to use the default mouse from RSBot, which is pretty boring. Getting onto the rock highlights. The first thing we do is set the color of the highlight to the color we decided in the rock highlights interface. So that was at the top. There was a tin highlight, clay highlight, and a highlight for every color, and that was inside the rock highlights interface. And we select the color depending on what rock we're mining. And then we do something pretty new to us. This is something that can be complicated for the beginner in programming, but I'll guess that you guys know enough to be told what this is all about. There are for loops, which is a type of loop, and as you know, the loop is used to run over something over and over again. And in this for loop, we are getting a polygon P, which, as you know, a polygon for math, just like 6 or 7 shapes, or 10 shapes, or 3 shapes in this case. So we get a polygon P, and this colon here is something pretty interesting. So polygon P colon current rock dot get triangles. Go to current rock. Current rock is an RS model. Where are we? We should be. Yeah, I'm lost now. Around here, I guess. Yep. So the current rock is a model, and we assign a value to the current rock in some method. I'll go through that soon. So basically, we get the triangles that form the current rock we're mining. As you know, everything in the computer is made up of pixels, and the way to organize those pixels in the programs is by making it all out of triangles. So we don't use straight lines, that would be pretty dumb. We don't use rectangles or squares, because that doesn't give us enough freedom. We use triangles, and that gives us just enough freedom to make, for example, circles and spheres out of triangles. We just have to add a lot of triangles to it. So we do everything by triangles. And here we are assigning to each triangle of this current rock a polygon, and we're filling that polygon in with the current color of the G. So let me explain this again. First of all, we set the color of the G object, which is a graphics object, to the color we selected in the rock highlights interface. And then we go through each of the polygons that form the current rock, and we fill it in of color, so that eventually our rock appears entirely covered in that color. Okay, so let's go to the get triangles method. And this is a part of RS model, so we're not going to go that. What I wanted to do is get to the current rock method. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it's pretty simple. I won't go through that just yet. Let's go back to the draw progress bar. I just was wondering if it was something complicated or not. No, it's pretty simple, so don't worry about that. Draw progress bar. This is pretty interesting. Drawing progress bars is always a good thing to do. Basically, we have the X and Y coordinates, I guess, for the starting location, and then we've got a width, which is 489. So this progress bar is going to occupy most, if not all, of the RuneScape chat box. And there's got a bar percentage, which is going to be the percentage to the next level on the mining skill. And the bar percentage is going to be the bar percentage times the width divided by 100. So that gives us the percentage of the width of the bar. That was pretty dumb to say, I know. But yeah, basically this so-called rule of 3, which I don't know if you guys know it. Not something I use too often. But we multiply the width of the bar times the percentage, and we divide everything by 100, so we get the percentage of the bar that's filled depending on the percentage and the width. Yeah, just follow that when you make your own progress bar. And basically we just send the color to the progress bar back, and then we fill the rectangles and that sort of good jazz. Fill 3D rect just fills in the embossed rectangle. And this true basically means that we're embossing the rectangle, which makes it stand a bit out by making a small shade at the sides of the rectangle, as in making it 3D. Not really 3D, but you know what I mean. Just embossing it a bit. That's it. On the draw mouse, just gets the location of the mouse by getting a new point variable. Point is just that, just a point in the screen. And we get the location, and we get the X and Y coordinates of the mouse, and just withdraw the location of the mouse. So that's pretty simple stuff. We draw a rectangle where the mouse is, and then we draw a line from the corners of the rectangle, and that's it. So we're approaching the end of the video. I'll see you guys in the next one, where we'll analyze the profit and all that good jazz. I'll see you guys in the next one.